You rocking out with LFOD.
Tune in to LFOD Radio.
LFOD Radio.
LFOD Radio. Live free or die. It's the
Boom,
vets.
it's the vets.
And we're going to go through some questions. I have a... Okay. This is from the audience. It's all anonymous. All right. Are there any artist incubator opportunities that the panel would recommend in lieu of a lack of a long-term grant opportunity?
Are you trying to find bread without a grant, pretty much?
Is there an artist incubator you know of besides Google?
I haven't seen any.
An artist incubator?
Nah.
Are you cooking an artist?
What kind of Black Mirror question is that?
I was like, incubator. I know what that means, but
It's anonymous, Start.
it's like, I don't know.
3.5 hours that way.
Okay, 3.5 hours that way.
Yeah, it's whatever, you know.
Word. All right. Yo, if you guys want to, whoever said that, if you want to follow with them after, feel free. But
Yeah, find us.
can any of you speak to the increased visibility and success of female and non-binary artists within the local hip-hop community?
I'll do it.
Okay.
You better.
Sheesh, I act like I was afraid to do it. Shit. Listen, I'm a fan of it all at the end of the day. Like from to Brandy Blaze and Jimmy, there's so much talent here at the end of the day. So like, I think it's just really, it's a reflection of the people. The people are really starting to just accept it, and the times are changing, and like, it's beautiful because to see Brandy Blaze have her own show, to see just people just rocking out and just like genuinely like engaging with these artists is cool to me because again, 5 years ago I didn't see any of that. So like, it's beautiful. There was no stages with Oompa at any events, and like that's a problem. So
I feel it's undeniable. When you go to a show and you see the bill and you see names that you maybe somebody's mentioned them before, but you've never seen them, and you see them perform live and they tear it down, what are you gonna say? No, you can't. When you see something amazing happen, you can't front on it. So if you see Brandy Blaze perform, you've seen Oompa perform, you've seen Billy Dean Thomas, you've seen any number of artists, and they all rock together at a show, you're going to that show. I don't care where it is.
That's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's to me is I just don't understand what also when I see it happen, it makes me wonder why didn't this happen before? But then I stop myself and I realize why, because they didn't feel comfortable enough to be able to step out into that world and say, this is who I am. Now that it's happening, I'm glad it's happening and it needs to happen more. So that's just what it is to me.
I think also it's like we genuinely with each other. Like I really like, it's not no politics, it ain't no networking scheme, it ain't no none of that. It's I know what you've been through. Just because you're a woman alone, you're a black woman, you're a chubby woman, you're da-da-da, I know what you've been through alone, just getting up in the morning, never mind when you get on a verse. I know what you've been through, so I already rock with you because not only did you do that to get up, but you tried to be a hip-hop artist, and you tried to be a hip-hop artist in a city where I've had white men come to me and tell me I should be a ghostwriter for them because I'll never make it I'll never make it. People won't buy my whole thing. And that same dude gave me a mixtape and I threw it in the trash in front of him. Okay, like, but the point is that like I hope he's here. I hope you're here. I really hope you're everywhere I ever am in life, so you hear this. But I knew it. No, but like the point is that I think we already know what we have pitted against us. So when we come in, it's like just forget the music first. It's just as a person, I know what you have to go through. I'm showing up and I'm the loudest nigga in the room because I know you, because I know what you've been through, and that's all of us. That's how we operate together. And then you add the fact that all of us are actually respect the artistry and the grind, and you can't tell me nothing about Rayo. You can't tell me nothing about Brandy Blaze or Red Chase. You can't tell me nothing. You can't be in the same place as me and talk trash about them because I got their back like they got mine. And I trust that when I'm in another room, the same thing is happening. So we build each other up. And I think that has to do, that contributes to how we just grow together.
I will say I'm always a fan of more women because it just makes, life in general easier. And I won't even stop at the artists, even like women just putting together events, especially Black women coming out, putting together their own events, putting together successful events, showing people that, you know, we can show up and we can support each other and we're here for each other. You know, it's important to have that network, and like Oompa said, of people that understand your struggle, have somebody to talk to, because it's a lonely road out there. And in talking to men, sometimes they don't understand how we feel. So it's very valuable, just not just because, you know, women are showing up. It's valuable to everyone because they need to understand other struggles rather than just one side of things.
Agreed. Thank you. Bedlam, you got something for that? Or, all right. So we got two more. Shout out to y'all for adding these. These are good questions. With hip-hop artistry so deeply connected to Black identity, expression, and experience, how are you thinking about the way white folks are showing up to get a slice of the pie?
Well, that question would have been really interesting in 1979 when this whole shit started. It cracks me up when people say, hey, all these white folks are here for this hip-hop event. I'm like, do you know how the record label industry started? Like, do you realize that the first anything about the national spread of hip-hop was in 1981 on ABC's 2020? Where have you been? So, and like, since the institution of like SoundScan, white consumers have bought more rap, and that was the year after the first rap record hit #1 on the Billboard charts and hit #1 on the top 200, the Billboard 200. So it's like, and I just memorized all this. I don't even have to Google it. I am Google. So for anybody to say that, oh, white people just showed up now, where the hell have you been? So there have been generations upon generations of white children and children who immigrated here and grew up with this is what they identify with, regardless of their background or their ethnicity, since the 80s. So why are you surprised now at all the people that are interested in Black culture or Black music? White people bought James Brown records.
Yeah, I forgot. What was the original question? Like, are we surprised?
Was that did I answer it? Did I go on a tangent? I just want to know.
No, I think the question was, because it's so tied to Black identity, experience, and expression, how are you thinking about the way white folks are showing up to get a slice of the pie? So I think you answered that.
Okay, yeah, I thought I did. All right, cool.
It ain't a slice. It's the majority of it. I mean,
yeah.
Realistically, the responsibility is on us now. You know, it's not something where they just showed up. If you look at, like he said, in the entire evolution of the music industry, it's always been white owned, white invested. So what we need to do as a community is stop buying
What?
and invest in record labels, invest in businesses, invest in each other. It happens in a lot of other places. It's a proven concept. But, you know, we talk about a lot of those things and we are out buying like cars and all these things that, quite frankly, if we worked with the places that we wanted to open these businesses, now we could work with those cities and then create jobs, and now you have city support, and, you know, it's one big infrastructure. But what do I know?
Oompa and I actually had a really great conversation about that because, and I know No Name went on a rant about this, just about like white people showing up at shows and, you know, how it's weird because, you know, she's making Black art. But at the end of the day, like, that's not something an artist can control. They can't control who consumes their music and shows up, you know. Again, if you, it's just, I don't know, it's a weird conversation. Sometimes I hate it because it's weird. Like, you know, it's hard to tell people, no, you can't consume the music because you're white. You don't connect with me. At the end of the day, they showed up. You know, they paid for merch.
People got mad at the Roots in Cypress Hill in the 90s because of who was in their crowd. Go to the show then.
Yeah, the show is still there. The ticket is online.
They weren't stopping you from buying tickets?
devil's advocate over here, okay? Like, not everybody can afford a $120 concert ticket. Like, you know what I'm saying? My mother I didn't go to a concert till like 3 years ago on the run, the first tour, like, cause it was Beyonce, like, and I could afford it. Like, I hadn't been to a concert before then because my mother made $833 a month with 3 girls, you know what I'm saying? And rent. And like, so it's not as easy as go buy a ticket all the time. Sometimes it is. There is disposable income and ways that we choose to spend it. So I think that that's one thing. But I think that in terms of the question itself of how white people show up in hip hop, I think it's the same way I want white people to show up in the world. Like, it's like, you're here. We all here. I love you. You love me. Be mindful of your privilege. Be mindful of how you got here. Be mindful of when you speak and when you take a step back. Be mindful of what you represent. In the same way, I'm going to be mindful of what I represent. And if we're going to work as partners in this thing that we care about called hip hop, then we have to do it in a way that's not equal but equitable. You know what I'm saying? So that's my stance.
Mark, definitely clap for that. All right. There's this one. There's a great opportunity to talk more with this one. What do you think of Boston hip-hop coverage in terms of press and publications? Are there any major inaccuracies or oversights? Yikes. Shout out to whoever said that.
That's a real question.
Yeah.
The only reason why I say that is because if somebody's on a major publication in Boston, you should just be supporting the fact that they up there. Like, that question is coming from an angle of actual disagreement and disgruntledness. Like, you're upset that somebody else is getting more attention than you. At the end of the day, like, go meet these people. There's a bunch of people in here that write for WBUR. You should probably talk to them and find ways to actually connect with them so you can be on these platforms. So, like, at the end of the day, like, it to me, that question sounds more like you don't know how to find your resources, less than, that's an issue. So
yeah. So, like, one thing that I discovered very early on, and something that I know because the city isn't that big and I'll go anywhere, is that all you got to do is reach out to somebody and talk to them. If there's something that was inaccurate or something that you thought was missing in terms of context, they usually have the name of the person who wrote it on the byline. And sometimes some publications that are smart actually include their email. And then sometimes you can actually contact that person and they'll respond to you. Then you can create a dialogue. So what happens is, if it's a journalist or a writer, maybe they like feedback and they'd like to learn so they get better at their craft and they get more familiar with the thing that they're covering or the space that they're covering. So now you're a resource to them and they're learning from you. So if you want to bridge that gap and fix any issues or any holes, be the change you want to see in the world.
Be the change you want to see.
Yeah, I think that's, like Latrell said, that's coming from a disgruntled. Nobody's just going to wake up and write an article about you if they don't know you. You have to show up and like I said, like when artists were, like back in the day, like when we were grinding, like when artists used to get plastered, I used to just Google their name and then go through all of their publications and take the names of the people that wrote it and then found their emails online and then sent them an email. Or I would just go to somewhere and just introduce myself. At the end of the day, again, it just goes back to putting in work. And if you're just going to complain, then I don't know if this is for you.
Yeah, just real quick, visibility is not a reflection of your worth or your ability.
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, go show up, go holler at somebody.
Like if you get plastered on there, it's not gonna, you don't know if it's gonna equate to more streams or, it's not gonna produce any more money for you. Like you're still gonna have to go to work the next day. Like, it's not gonna always change your life. It's appreciated. And you should always appreciate the people that took time to write about you, but you shouldn't always assume that somebody should wake up and know about you.
I mean, I think that media is doing a lot better of a job than they used to. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, the last 2 pieces that have been done on Boston music, they didn't have to do that. So we should be very appreciative that these stories are happening because now people in other places are now paying attention, as I said earlier, a lot more than they were. So, this city alone has so many people who contribute to both local and national publications. They're doing their job. They're out at these shows. They're supporting artists. They're going to events. They're doing the work. So anybody that feels like, they're overlooking somebody, reach out. You know, in most cases, you're probably mad because it just doesn't fit your agenda. But at the end of the day, it's about the scene. And right now, Boston music is getting a lot of dope looks nationally. We are in no position to be complaining. Period.
Word.
Candy Yam Candace.
All right, so
She's in here. Of course she is.
Hi, Candace.
Always
How you
present.
doing? Nice to
Tennessee
see you.
and chicken wings sent to her house ASAP.
So thank you to y'all who sent in those questions. No, seriously.
We're not positive at
Yo,
all.
y'all clapped back at the audience. I didn't expect it. So thank you, everyone, for being here once again. And I'm going to bring Ari back to the stage, I believe. But first I will be dismissing the panel. Thank you, guys. This was
Kicking us
wonderful.
off. Bad.
I look forward to next year. We're going to do it bigger and better. So thank you, sir.